Hi everyone, Colthany Cash-Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Common album, Black America Again. Chicago rapper, actor, lyricist extraordinaire, ultimate poet, cool guy, voiceover commercial man. Common is back with a new album. This guy has been at it since the 90s, and in that time span he has dropped some of the smartest and most thoughtful hip-hop records in the genre. And he is still sticking to his socially conscious guns in this third act of his career. I was especially excited to hear him do that on this new record of his, because I figure he's got to be reaching some kind of socially charged apex here, given that the title is Black America Again. Also, it's been a very contentious 2 years for race relations in America since Common's last record, with all of these stories of police brutality on the news, the rise of Black Lives Matter, Donald Trump's rhetoric over the course of the election cycle, the growing popularity of identity politics in the mainstream. So I went into this thing expecting Common to go into this deep dive dissection into a lot of these issues the country has been dealing with, but ended up feeling disappointed in just how disconnected and impersonal Common feels toward his subject matter on this album. And it's not like there aren't moments on this album that aren't thoughtful and aren't politically charged or aren't great tracks. Songs like Home and the title track, Black America Again, are some of the best songs I've heard Common put out in a while. Though I will say the title track on here kind of feels like a poetic social injustice laundry list more than it does like Common's personal take on anything that he's actually referencing. From Trayvon Martin to Sandra Bland, Common mentions a lot of things because there's a lot of things to mention. There's a lot of things worth mentioning, but he doesn't really unpack any of it. And maybe that would be excusable if he did that on the deeper cuts of this record. I mean, Black America Again, I feel like is a worthwhile track if this is sort of the summation of all of these issues that he's going to go deeper into later. But after this track, Common just detours into a series of really doughy neo-soul ballads, some of which are so lovesick that they're hard to listen to. The song Love Star with Marsha Ambrosius I think will make even the most hardcore Common fans roll their eyes. A track that's not only awkward because of its oddly lovey-dovey lyrics, but also because Common raps on this song with the same volume and tone that he does on one of his more political tracks on this record. It's like he has no appreciation for just like, switching it up a little bit because your, subject matter is totally different. He's rapping about being in love like it's an urgent political issue. The instrumental, though, is disappointingly sleepy, as it is on the song Red Wine, too. Another moment that sort of slows down the momentum of the record and feels completely, unnecessary with lines like, lying on the king like Simba. Though I will say the track Unfamiliar with PJ, who really saves the hook on this cut, is actually the best love song on the album, and really maybe the only love song that the album needed. Not that some of the more thoughtful, politically charged tracks are any better, like the song Pyramids, which has a really weak filler hook, which is just like a redundant Old Dirty Bastard sample recycled again and again. There's an odd lyrical reference on this track to Common being a hero, but a sandwich, and a bar after that about being gluten-free. Also on this track, unironically, he rhymes the words lyrical and miracle right next to each other. But the track on this record where I think Common puts his foot in his mouth the most is the song The Day Women Took Over, which is an honest-to-God, true blue simp anthem. And as complimentary as the track is in a lot of ways, Common essentially boils women down to just being these supreme perfect beings that are just sugar and spice and everything nice. And theorizes that if women were given total control, all of the world's problems would just melt away. Also, hilarious bar on this track about Beyonce's music starting the revolution. Even with the song Freedom on Beyonce's last record, she is nowhere near a revolutionary. Also, the track is loaded with these stupid references to opening the door and leaving the toilet seat down, as if serious issues that women have throughout the world can just be boiled down to these social pet peeves. His take on women just lacks the diversity and the flaws that their male counterparts have. He sort of just puts them on a pedestal on this track track, which is not really good for the social status of women either. It's kind of like the whole nice guy side of the sexism coin. Now, once these cornball floodgates are open, Common has to drop the song Rain with John Legend, which is just painfully glitzy and commercial. I absolutely cannot sit through this song without like cringing. Although the song Little Chicago Boy is this fantastically personal take from Common on his own father, who grew up in Chicago. We have lines on here about him being a young boy, lines about the immense influence he had on Common as he was raising him both philosophically and musically, making reference to a moment when he bought him Grandmaster Flash's The Message. And though I do think Tasha Cobbs is a formidable singer, I really wish that the album had brought more lyrics from Common on the back end of the track instead of just kind of verging off into this instrumental break and vocal passage. And the song Letter to the Free, the closer of this album, circles back to the kinds of themes that you would actually expect from an album with this title. It's actually a supremely powerful moment where Common turns a lot of these racial injustices he was referencing earlier into poetic gold, asking questions like, is the US ever going to be us? And drawing parallels between slavery and mass incarceration. You know, it's not really that I disagree with Common's philosophy, it's that I don't really think he went that deep into his philosophy on a lot of these tracks. Much of it seemed somewhat surface level, and he didn't give a lot of personal perspectives on a great deal of it. That is when he was actually rapping about these socio-political issues. There's some very powerful and politically charged moments on this record that I like a lot, but for every track that is like that, Common whips out a dud or a neo-soul snoozer, which leaves me feeling kind of indifferent to this album because it is wildly inconsistent. I'm feeling a decent 5 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe. And please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment in the comments if you're mad. All sorts of links next to my head, other videos. Subscribe to the channel and the website. Hope you're doing good. Stay hydrated. Common forever.